Good day, here are the stories for the Manila Times for Wednesday, July 13, 2022. Taming inflation, a Marcos priority. Fighting inflation is a top economic priority for President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., anticipating it is a potential problem for the country, a Malacanang official said on Tuesday. Press Secretary Rose Beatrix Trixie Cruz Angeles made the statement upon the release of the latest Pulse Asia survey results, showing that the top most urgent national concern that the majority of Filipinos want Marcos to address is controlling inflation. The Pulse Asia survey results released also on Tuesday showed that 57% of the respondents are concerned about the need to control the increase in the prices of basic goods and services. It said inflation was the most urgent national concern of those from Metro Manila with 67%, those from Mindanao with 69%, and those belonging to socio-economic classes D and E with 58% and 62% respectively. In contrast, those residing in the rest of Luzon and the Visayas are most concerned about inflation with 46% and 62% respectively, and workers' pay with 43% and 52% respectively, while the leading national concerns in Class ABC are inflation with 48%, workers' pay with 53%, poverty reduction with 31%, and job creation with 29%, the pollster added. DepEd in-person classes mandatory starting November 2. The Department of Education or DepEd on Tuesday announced that all public and private schools are mandated to hold face-to-face classes starting November 2, 2022, as indicated in DepEd Order 34, Series of 2022, signed by Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte Carpio. Education Undersecretary Epimaco Densing III said that schools may opt to implement 5 days of in-person learning from the start of the school year on August 22 or slowly transition from full distance learning modality to blended learning, 3 days of in-person classes and 2 days distance learning to 4 days of in-person and 1 day of distance learning from August 22 until October 31, and then implement 5 days of in-person classes from November 2 onward. He noted that there will be no inspections, tools, or additional requirements to reopen schools and to implement 5 days of face-to-face classes, except for the compliance with the usual pre-pandemic regulatory permits and licenses as required by law or ordinances. Densing said that in-person classes will push through regardless of alert level status, unless advised otherwise by Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases or IATF-EID. U.S. renews vow to defend Philippines. The United States has affirmed its commitment to defend the Philippines if any of its troops, public vessels, or aircraft or attack in the South China Sea or SCS or West Philippine Sea. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made the assurance as Washington reiterated its support for the 2016 The Hague ruling in favor of the Philippines. He said the U.S. reaffirms its July 13, 2020 policy regarding maritime claims in the SCS. Then U.S. Secretary of State Michael Pompeo said Washington will not allow Beijing to turn the SCS as its maritime empire. On July 12, 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled in favor of the Philippines as it declared the so-called China's 9-dash line, the national boundary, has no legal basis to claim historic rights to almost all resources in the South China Sea. NBI asked to probe sex abuse of PHSA students. Vice President and Education Chief Sara Duterte Carpio asked the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI to probe reports of emotional, verbal and sexual abuse of students of Philippine High School of the Arts or PHSA in Los Baños, Laguna. In a letter to the NBI on Monday, Duterte Carpio asked for a comprehensive report on the issue as soon as possible. It emphasized that the Education Department does not tolerate abuses in any form and that Education Chief will continuously promote a healthy and safe environment for learners and teachers. The department tapped its Child Protection Unit and Child Rights in Education Desk to conduct a similar investigation in relation to DepEd's child protection policy. The PHSA has informed the Education Department that it is examining reports alleging sexual abuse in the high school. The school earlier released a statement assuring its students that personnel will give support and hear their concerns for their safety and well-being. It urged former students to file their complaints with the school's designated committee that processes such matters. Marcos names Yulo Loizaga DENR chief. President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. on Tuesday nominated Maria Antonia Tony Yulo Loizaga as Secretary of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DENR. Marcos announced Yulo Loizaga's appointment during the cabinet meeting where he participated virtually. The chief executive is still in mandatory isolation after contracting the coronavirus disease last week. Yulo Loizaga was the chairman of the International Advisory Board of the Manila Observatory, where she advocated for more scientific research on climate and disaster resilience, Cruz Angeles said. She likewise served as the Manila Observatory's executive director and technical advisor of the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation. Yulo Loizaga was also on the Senior Advisory Board of Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP Command and General Staff College. Her nomination came a day after Marcos designated Rafael Lotilla to head the Department of Energy. Security preparations for President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s first State of the Nation address SONA, with the Presidential Security Group or PSG as the lead coordinating body, are in place according to security forces. The Task Force SONA 2022 Commander Colonel Nelson Aluad, as directed by PSG Chief Colonel Ramon Zagala, presided over the first interagency meeting last Monday after with the government's various security agencies and units that include the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police or PNP, Bureau of Fire Protection, Philippine Coast Guard, Manila International Airport Authority, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, Department of Health and National Intelligence Coordinating Agency. A post on the PSG's official Facebook page showed. This is to ensure that safety and security of the President when he addresses both houses of Congress and the nation for the first time on July 25, 2022. The PSG particularly wants to make sure no breach of protocols will happen, especially within the confines of the House of Representatives and its surroundings in Quezon City on the day of the event. Peso further sinks, hits 17-year low. Over to business. The Philippine peso saw its worst day in nearly 18 years on Tuesday, falling back to 56 pesos per US dollar. The local currency fell 39 centavos from the previous day's closing value of 55.97 pesos to finish at 56.37 US dollars ratio to $1. It hasn't been this weak since November 5, 2004 when it closed at 56.375 ratio to $1 US dollars. The record Philippines 5.67 billion US dollars trade deficit, the stronger US dollar before the most recent US inflation data. The recent hawkish signals from Federal Reserve or FED officials and the statement of caution from Kansas City Fed President S. Fer George that hastening to tighten policy could backfire all contributed to the peso's decline. Michael Ricafort, chief economist at Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, told the Manila Times. Philippines takes on Lebanon in FIBA Asia Cup. Topping sports, playing minus injured players Dwight Ramos and Angelo Cuame. Gilas Pilipinas is hoping that returning player Ray Parks and center Poy Eram can cover up the spots vacated by the two mainstays as the Philippine men's basketball team starts in campaigning in the FIBA Asia Cup. The Filipinos will take on their crack Lebanese counterpart at 9 p.m. at the Jakarta Historia Senayan. Opinion and editorial. Rigoberto Tiglao and Father Aranhilio Aquino are today's front page columnists. Tiglao prefers to continue exposing communist fronts, while Father Aquino asks if the country wants divorce. Today's editorial believes a pending extended producer responsibility law could undermine the country's environmental goals. Read a full version on the paper's opinion section or listen to the Voice of the Times. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print. Subscribe to its digital edition or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram and keep up with the Times. On behalf of the Manila Times, this is Christian Cro Maghanoy reporting.
Our longest trusted English newspaper since 1898. Now available digitally. Computer. Order the Manila Times Digital Edition. Subscribed. Get the Manila Times Digital Edition for less than 2 pesos and 50 centavos per day when you sign up for 1 year. The Manila Times, news source of choice, trusted since 1898.